Welcome to Love Bite.
I fell in love with my present partner 2 years ago in April 2022. I knew her from the days of COVID and didn't really bother to get into any romantic liaisons since I was fresh out of a long-term live-in relationship and was pretty content by myself. I also knew that she was in a relationship with a guy, and as a morally responsible and monogamous person, I didn't want to barge into anything. She was my sister's friend, and objectively speaking, she has a rare self-taught finesse in anything she draws and paints. She had these beautiful eyelashes and always had a manic pixie Sylvia Plath Lana Del Rey arc for which the savior complexity in me started to grow once I knew she was in pain and was going through sh*t because her boyfriend was cheating on her. I didn't want to text her from my own account and then texted her from my other account named after a TV show character. We started talking about it, and to my surprise, we hit it on the first day and we spoke like anything and everything, and within the third day, I told her who I am. She told me she liked me and told me she was in love with me within the first 4 days, and then the following series of events completely messed me up. She told me about her promiscuity, and I said I was not comfortable. She told me she isn't sure yet, she likes me and wants to be with me. The next day, she told me this was getting very serious and she didn't want to do this anymore. I agreed to her with my utter shock and disbelief. The next day, she gets emotional and tells me about her situation, and I feel empathetic. I inculcated so much of her pain that she continued this whole pattern for a year and a half. She never stayed in my city since she lived with her parents, and she had a maternal home in mine. I never saw her in the first 2 months. All she did before we met was talk about how she doesn't trust anyone and how she isn't sure about being exclusive. I said it's fine, you can figure it out and just let me know if anything happens. Just keep things transparent. She started throwing me and putting me under the bus for showing love to her. For telling her that I love her. She used to get cold and leave me for a day. She didn't pick up any of my calls till she became sane, and if I cried on them, I asked her not to leave me because, by that time, I was attached to and already dependent on her. Not because I needed her, but because I wanted to be there for her, and I knew she would be in a mess without me. There were times when I showed respect for her decision and let her be. In a day or two, she used to contact me and say sorry. I didn't realize what breadcrumbing was. I was already messed up. My health got worse, but I stayed in this turmoil for a year and a half. I know this is becoming long, so let me cut it short. After the first year, she moved to another city for her PhD, and she had already mentioned that she wasn't sure how well we would be able to cope within this dynamic where she would be busy all month, but we somehow managed. And she drew an end to her hopscotch of love bombing and breadcrumbing telekinesis, but by the time it ended, I had piled up a lot of negative emotions for her. I never really fought with her, but in every disagreement, she used to belittle me, get violent, and call me anything she wanted. I never used anything unparliamentary since I knew that'd be a backfire. She told me about her early exposure to sex and how she was pretty active in her participation and doesn't really understand monogamy, but at the same time, she told me she can't have anything with anyone. I had super traumatic experiences because of this thing and always knew her promiscuous behavior. One day out of nowhere, she started telling me about her kinks, and I was listening to them patiently until it reached a point where she told me she wasn't joking and what had happened if she actually wanted to explore this stuff, which included passing threesomes and weird pornographic fantasies that made me puke. I said very casually that if you were going to explore, I'll probably do too. After hearing this, she blasted at me and abused me out of nowhere. She later told me she abused me out of her experiences and gaslight me to her best. A few months went by and she became this horror to me who started getting very violent with every little thing she found against her. I told her verbatim that if you don't eat so much fast food, you'll get fat. She whipped the hell out of me for calling her fat and guilty. I honestly had no recollection of 3,000 fights where I said something or made a normal remark that made her cry and shout nights after nights. Yes, I agree. It got toxic and I started rebelling against her. She started using every kind of method to guilt-trip me, and whatever happened to her was because of me. I can literally attach screenshots, but I am not trying to lie. Not even a bit. I am writing everything and my head is in a mess. This is the last part. Last year, on my birthday, I went to her city to meet her and she didn't even wish me. Anyway, I didn't say or show any disappointment. As I always had a hunch something could be fishy, I checked her phone and saw her flirting with a guy whom she had sexted once and sent him a photo. No, there wasn't any skin showing, it was a normal photo, but my skin crawled by, thinking what could be the odds here? What if she has deleted anything? I confronted her about this. She cried, and after a little push, she deflected it at me by saying she was sad and didn't have anyone to talk to. This guy validated her and asked for her photograph. I lost half of my fight for her there. We went on a trip after a few months where I saw texts on her phone and went for a peach wine day with a guy from her PhD campus in the middle of the night. I checked the texts. They were suggestive if not harmful. The guy has called her pretty and she said she is going to miss him a lot since he was going out of the university. I kept my nerves calm and I confronted her after coming back and she said she didn't do anything and she didn't tell me because I'd assume random things. Honestly, I still don't know what happened that night. I am still in the dark. And this was the last nail on the coffin. One day we were chilling over the video call and she again reiterated her kinks and fantasies and told me she would like to have a threesome and I respectfully disagreed and declined. I felt bad because I felt like I was caging her. I kept this within me and it became a pile of junk in my heart and head where I can't really function normally anymore. I can't see things with a linen of innocence. It has devastated my self-worth. I have been loyal from the beginning. I have declined every woman. I never made any sexual advances to anyone and the day I blasted, saying you have done this and you have kept telling me about your fantasies and they bother me, she listened, tried to manipulate the truth and said she meant something else. I told her that you went on a wine date and called the guy and her pretentiousness blocked me and left me until today when I kept saying sorry because I couldn't get out of this relationship since I had no evidence of her doing anything concrete. I gaslight myself probably. I am in a fix. My cognitivity has gone down the drain since I ignore my feelings, rationalize everything, and make a fool of myself. I know this is long, but I am at a very critical and crucial point in my life. I have been loyal and loving until I couldn't. My memory is affected since I can't remember, align, or frame all these 2 years. I will seek therapy, but I want sound advice. I repeat, this is probably too long to read, but I need help.